On the previous video, we talked about racking and interconnecting a Behringer XR18 as a dedicated monitor console for in-ear monitors. On this video, I thought we would take a look at the settings for using the XR18 or the Midas MR18 as a dedicated monitor console. Let's choose any channel to start. For one thing, we need to set our sends for the proper tap point. When the console is also doing front of house, you have to make your decision based on what compromises you want to make around the front of house settings. For a dedicated monitor console, this gets simplified because we don't really need to worry about front of house settings and what our monitor settings would mean to front of house, or what front of house changes might mean to our monitors. The subgroup setting is not really applicable to anything we need here. It's going to be more for front of house purposes. I'll leave a link about subgroups in the text below. We need to focus on these other options for a monitor console. Let's look at this chart to see what these tap points mean. If we tap the sends at input, you can see we get really none of the things we might typically want in our monitors. As you can see here, the monitors will be tapped before everything except the preamp. Nothing after this point goes to the monitors. If we tap at pre-EQ, it's still the same basic issue since we won't get channel EQ. We would normally always want our channel EQ for our monitors when we have a dedicated monitor console. So we know we want our channel monitor sends to be at least post EQ. But if we tap at pre-fader, we would also capture the channel compressor. While it's true, vocalists as a rule don't typically like compression or much compression on their vocals in the monitors, you also don't have to actually enable compression on a vocal channel either. And compression might be appreciated on drums and bass guitar in the monitors or other places. For most bands, pre-fader is going to be the best setting. And here's a tip. By using pre-fader, that means we can get one more stereo mix out of the XR18. We can use the left and right outputs that would have been front of house to be another monitor mix, since another console was handling the house mix and we aren't using the main outs on the XR18. If we would have chosen post fader, then any changes on the channel faders would affect our channel monitor sends for everyone else. So we effectively get up to 7 monitor mixes out of the XR18 this way, or up to 4 stereo mixes. I'll highlight the global icon so that the send tap point changes I make on any one channel will go to all the channels. As already discussed, I'm going to choose pre-fader. If you're going to want to use effects like reverb in the monitors, then for a dedicated monitor console, like we're setting up in this video, it makes the most sense to also set up the effect sends to pre-fader. We can do this while we're setting up the other global send tap points like this. For those using Mixing Station on Android, do this. Choose channels, and then choose any channel. Click this box above the buses. Click the gear icon. Click Signal Taps. Now choose the tap point on each bus and click Apply. That is how you set the tap points globally on your Android tablet. You can see below the bus faders in their window what their tap points are. Let's look at the front panel of the XR18 and talk about the hardware end of this. The XR18 and the MR18 have 6 XLR aux outs on the front panel. These are balanced mono outputs. If you want to have stereo monitor mixes, you have to use 2 outputs per mix, and you'll have to link them in the software. I'll circle back to stereo linking in a moment and explain that. From these outputs, you should typically use a normal mic cable or a fan-to-fan snake, female XLR to male XLR, to connect your IEMs, or at least an XLR female to 1/4 inch tip ring sleeve if your in-ear monitors don't accept XLR. That's because we want to keep the signal balanced. As I mentioned earlier, since we're not using the XR18 to mix front of house, the front panel XLR left and right outputs are also available for an extra monitor mix. Everything connects the same way, from the console outputs to the wired belt packs or to the transmitters. Stereo mixes will always require 2 channels, so 2 XLR feeds. Let's go back to the X Air Edit software and look at stereo linking. If you're using mono mixes, you can skip this part, but it's still nice to know. We have to link odd outputs to even outputs because that is all the console will allow. In other words, the odd number output always has to be the first output in our link. Choose the first pair of buses you want to link. In this case, let's say we want bus 1 and 2 to be mono mixes for our drummer and our basses, and our lead singer wants to be stereo. Choose bus 3 on the right side of the X Air Edit software, and then choose the fader in the main section. Then tab over to the channel option at the top left and click it. And now you should see the stereo link option. Click it to highlight it and link the outputs. For mixing station, on the Android, choose Mix. Choose the bus we want to link to another. In this case, we're linking bus 3 to bus 4, so we'll select bus 3. Choose Link and then answer Yes when it asks us to confirm. And we're linked. One mistake that people make is that they expect the channel pan to control the monitor sends. It doesn't work like that. The channel pan only controls the left-right in the main outputs. Instead, when we link monitor outputs, we'll get an extra option on our channels in the channel sends window like this. We now have a pan option under our link monitor sends. You can pan the chosen channel in that stereo monitor mix by sliding this left or right. Technically, if you click Mixer at the top, you can also see and adjust the monitor pan from this view as well. On the tablet, choose the channel you want to pan in the monitors. Choose here. And now on the buses, the monitor mixes, you will see a pan option on any stereo buses. You can drag this left or right to pan. Okay, back to X Air Edit. Let's look at our input level. The meters on the Behringer and Midas are dBFS, a digital scale. You want to set the gain to average about -18 dBFS on the input meter, not 0 like on an analog console. Effectively, -18 dBFS on an XR18 is the same as that 0 dBVU on an analog console. You want to average around -18 dBFS on the input meter, but you can peak above that. With gain structure, it's not just the input that matters. Gain structure matters throughout the entire signal chain. You want to get it right at the start so that things flow correctly from start to finish. You don't want to hit your IEMs with excess signal and cause them to limit or clip. Nor do you want to hit them with a weak signal that won't allow enough level for your ears. Ideally, you'll have room on the volume control of your belt pack to turn up and to turn down. You should be able to run your outputs on the console at or close to unity without hitting your monitors too hard. A couple points I want to mention since I know some of you will look into the Behringer wired IEM belt packs. The Behringer P1 is pretty self-explanatory. It has 2 balanced XLR inputs for stereo in. The Behringer P2 only has 1 balanced XLR mono input. It does have a switch for stereo operation, but that switches the unit's input from balanced mono to unbalanced stereo. You have to connect to an unbalanced stereo feed for that to work, not just any single XLR feed. Also, if you connect a mono-balanced XLR line into an unbalanced stereo input, it will create polarity issues and thin sound. So there is the potential for a mispatch if you're not aware of that and try to use it wrong and outside of mono mode. I'll leave affiliate links in the text below, and here are some other videos that you might want to check out. Leave me any questions or comments below. If you like information like this, please like and subscribe to the channel. Likes and comments really helps to get YouTube to promote the channel to a wider audience, so I definitely appreciate those. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.